gentleman, Mr. Biggs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield some time to the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Gates.
Thank the gentleman for yielding. Mr. Chairman, can we get the word cloud with Mr. Kalimnik's name prominently displayed back up?
Oh, no, can we?
While we're doing that, will the gentleman yield?
Just excuse
No.
me, reclaiming my time. Point of order. I'm looking at the clock. The clock is not. Thank you. Now I'll yield back to Mr. Gates.
Mr. Gates, will you yield while they're looking for the cloud?
I'm sorry, Mr. Cicilline, you just controlled the time and could
I know, but you just got, I didn't realize you were
Sorry,
here.
I've got work to do here on Mr. Biggs' time. So this is this word cloud that the majority has cited with the name prominently in the middle, Konstantin Kalimnik. And I seek unanimous consent, Mr. Chairman, to enter into the record a piece in the Hill by John Solomon entitled "Key Figure that the Mueller report identifies was a State Department intel source."
Without objection.
And in this reporting by John Solomon, there is demonstrable evidence that Kalimnik was actually meeting with U.S. State Department officials in Kiev to give us intel on the Russians. This is the first major factual error of the Mueller report, because if you can't delineate correctly between the people collecting intelligence for Russia and people collecting intelligence for the United States, it would seem to be a departure from the necessary factual basis to proceed. So I'm hoping we can figure out who Mr. Kalimnik was really working for, but if he was working for us, it would seem to be that Mr. Mueller was severely wrong about this, and I yield back to the gentleman from Arizona.
Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, I ask for unanimous consent that an article by David Webb published June 18th, 2019 be admitted to the record.
Without objection.
Thank you, sir. I am intrigued, quite frankly, at the title of this hearing. I represented NGOs at the United Nations and other multilateral institutions. I served in a state legislative body for 14 years and was the Senate President in Arizona for 4 years and Majority Leader for 1. And I've sat on this committee now we're at the 2.5-year mark, I suppose. And I find it intriguing what's happened today. I've not seen hearings conducted in this fashion before, and all that, whether it be at the international level, state level, and actually the other committees I sit on, the subcommittees. In fact, I was a subcommittee chairman for the last 2 years. This has been intriguing to me to watch, in my opinion, the devolution of the process in some ways. But I will say this: one of the lessons I've learned is that we all see things that we want to see. We all miss things that we want to miss when we look at indications. But the one thing that rang out to me is that none of these witnesses has any fact. They're not witnesses to any material fact. They're providing impressions
and opinions,
ideas about what they read in the Mueller report. And that's okay. That's fine. But I think Ms. Cordero, and I wrote down a quote from her, said that no one should be a beneficiary of foreign operations. No political campaign should be a beneficiary of foreign operatives. Professor Hasten said opposition research from foreign operatives would be illegal. And one of the things that I always thought was interesting about that is that in 2016, the Clinton campaign and DNC used Perkins Coie, a politically connected, influential law firm, essentially as a pass-through to pay Fusion GPS. And Fusion GPS co-founder was Glenn Simpson. He hired Christopher Steele. Steele's a British citizen, foreign operative in some ways. Steele was working at that time as an FBI informant for the Obama Justice Department and representing Russian oligarch Oleg Deripaska. That's what was going on there. Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, Robbie Mook, boasted about accepting dirt on Donald Trump furnished by Mr. Steele, probably sourced by criminal-linked associates. That would be illegal. That would be wrong. That is something that you can gather from the Mueller report. But we're not discussing that. But I think we should. I think we should. And I also think that we ought to give more than an hour and 20 minutes to review our witness's testimony instead of popping it up to us at the last minute with a change of topic. With that, I'm out of time and I yield back.